to this broken romance. I want to go where the people dance. I want some action. I want to live action. I got so much to give. I want to give it. I want to get some too. I love the nightlife. I've got to boogie on the disco.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special After Dark episode of Let's Learn Stuff! If you're stuck inside and you need some fun, she's the grande dame of getting it done.
Let's learn stuff!
With Victoria Sautee. Well, hello there, dearies, and welcome back to Let's Learn Stuff. Oh, it's been such a long time since I've seen you all. I'm so glad you're here for our special After Dark episode. Oh, it's rather spooky, isn't it? Now, the first thing in the line of business that we have tonight is we need to send the little ones off to bed. So Dick, Jane, where are you?
Hello.
Oh, there you are.
Hi, how are you?
So I have to tell you both,
What?
you're not allowed to be here at tonight's performance.
What?
Nope, you can't be a part of the broadcast. I'm very sorry to say,
Oh,
darling.
This sucks.
Well, now look, I want you to go to bed, and I want you to tell the audience what your prayers are going to be. What are you going to say before bed? Dick, why don't you start?
Sure. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep.
Very good. Very nice. What a good boy Dick is. Don't you just
What a
love
good
Dick?
boy.
All right, now, Jane, what are you going to say before you go to bed?
All right, I'm going to say there once was a man from Nantucket.
No, all right, that's enough. Out you go, out you go. Off to bed, off to bed.
Night.
My goodness, you just never know what fun you're going to have with Dick and with Jane. Now, I want you to remember that during the show tonight that we will be accepting tips to support our little broadcast. You know, a little donation goes a long way. I have to keep my StreamYard going. I have to keep in these lovely wigs. I have to keep in those makeup takeoffs, which are very costly. Don't you know it? So at Pantochino.com/donate. Every little bit helps our cause and helps keep me on the air. It does, darling. It certainly does. Now, as I've mentioned before, we are here at a special After Dark spooky episode. You don't know what happens after dark. Well, I know what happens to me after dark, darling, and I'll start the show by telling you a little bit about what I do after dark. You see, I start out with eating a large dinner. Now, here in this picture, I think I'm having some spaghetti and meatballs. That's what I like to enjoy. And speaking of spaghetti and meatballs, our two super fans, Emma and Michael, are eating some spaghetti and hot dogs tonight. But I don't like it with the hot dogs quite that often. I like it just the way it is. A nice big bowl. I eat about 1.5 pounds of pasta. That's what I do. And then once I finish eating my meal, I have an exercise routine that I like to follow to keep me feeling trim and fit. Now, I don't like those newfangled programs and weightlifting and whatnot. I like the old-fashioned rubber band that I wrap around my waist, and I go for a little jiggle. That's what I call it. I go for a jiggle. Now, once I'm finished jiggling about, I phone my friends. I check in on everybody to make sure everybody's doing wonderful, healthy, and well. I make a few business phone calls, if you know what I mean. And then I'm ready to really luxuriate in a nice, lovely bath. Yes, bath time is fun. I usually fill the tub with some Mr. Bubbles and I bring in a canister of crazy foam in there to make little shapes Sometimes I go to what is that store that all the malls have? There's a Bath Body Barbara. I don't know what it. Did you know the one where they sell all the fragrances, and the minute you walk in, they're like, now, just so you know, everything on the store is for sale today. And I'm like, well, you just be quiet. Let me fill up a basket of things I don't really need. But anyway, that's me luxuriating. It's just so lovely. Now, after I finish my bath, there's some other things that I like to do, which, well, quite frankly, darlings, I can't tell you about. But maybe in this Charlie Pride song, it will sum up what happens after I take my bath and before I go to bed.
And when we get behind closed doors, and she lets her hair hang down, and she makes me glad that I'm a man. Oh, no one knows what goes on behind closed doors.
And by that, I mean that I dream. When I'm in bed, I dream. I have lots of dreams. I'm one of those people. I'm sort of like Joseph. I have all sorts of lovely dreams. Sometimes they're not so lovely. One time I woke up and I dreamt I was a muffler. I was exhausted, as you can imagine. I often dream about 1, 3, and 5. It's very odd. It's very odd. Now, last night, I had a dream that I was swimming in an ocean filled with orange soda. I woke up and I realized it was nothing but a fantasy. It was a fantasy, the orange soda, of course. Now, Tuesday night, I dreamt that I wrote the novel The Hobbit. Turns out I was only Tolkien in my sleep. That's the truth. It really is. Now, Monday night, this is a really interesting story. Monday night, I got a text just before I went off to bed, and it said, if you're sleeping, I'm reading it, send me your dreams. If you're laughing, send me your smiles. If you're eating, send me a bite. If you're drinking, send me a sip. If you're crying, send me your tears. That's what it said. And I replied with, I'm on the toilet. What should I do? That's what I did. Now, one thing that I like about the night, I'm not going to tell you yet. I want to check in and I want to see who's out there with it. Oh, look. Hello, Michael. I knew you'd be there. And Diane's here. Hello, John. It's good to see you. Good evening to you. And hello, Emma. Joe's out in the audience tonight, and Barbara and Suzanne is there, and Jane. Oh, well, don't miss her too much. I don't want you to miss Jane. I don't want you to like Jane. I really do. Suzanne goes to Bath and Body Works. Don't they hound you when you go in the store there? I know they do. Great. Well, it's great to see you, Barbara. It really is. Now I'm so glad you're all out there tonight. It's so weird to be out after dark. It really is. And one of the things that I like about after dark is I like things that glow in the dark. I do. Let's learn stuff about glowing in the dark, shall we? Now this is a very scientific things that I'm about to tell you. I hope you're writing all this down. One of the things about glowing in the dark is there's something that's called bioluminescence. Bioluminescence. That's a big word. That's sort of like the production or emission of light from a living organism, sort of like a firefly. That firefly is an example of bioluminescence. Now then there's chemoluminescence or chemoluminescence, depending on how you like to pronounce that. And that is the emission of light caused by a chemical reaction. And that's all I've got to say about that, because I'm not a scientist, darling. I'm a glamorous talk show host. Then there's radioluminescence, as you can tell. See this little watch? Well, the dial there, the dial is painted with radium, and anything that is painted with radium that gives off light is called radioluminescence. So you've learned quite a bit, haven't you, darling? And then finally, there's phosphorescence. Phosphorescence, that's what gives us those glowing glow stick things. Now, phosphorescence is a type of photoluminescence that is related to fluorescence. And if you're confused about that, well, we're on the same boat, darling. We really are. It was discovered in 1602 by Vincenzo Cascarolo. Yes, he was Irish. There he is there. He looks like he needs a makeover, Vincenzo does. But he was in Bologna, Italy, when he discovered some phosphorus stones out there in Italy. Do you realize something, darlings? Almost everything I talk about starts in Italy. I think even rice-a-roni came from there. I don't know. And now the first person to actually take that luminescence and isolate it was a man named Henning Brand. And there's Henning. Henning, what a name and what a gentleman. I think that Vincenzo looks like he needs a makeover, and Henning looks like he needs a haircut, doesn't he? Looks like he's been away from his hairstylist for too long. But that was the style back there when photoluminescence and phosphorescence was discovered. Now the glow stick, we all love a good glow stick, don't we, darling? I know I love a good, pardon me, I'm having a cocktail. It doesn't glow in the dark, no. I wish it did. But the glow stick, did you know that they were created for the military to use? That's right, they just didn't make these for kids to open up and put around their necks at parties. They made them for the military so they could be sort of covert and in their operations in the jungles and the deserts and during the wars. They had these little lights that could help them read. This gentleman here, he's reading probably a card from his mum there. And thanks to glow sticks for making that happen, military. Now, did you know that the world's longest glow stick was 9 feet long, and it was created in Germany in 2009? And unfortunately, I don't have a picture of that for you. I don't, but I do have a picture of this. Do you know what this gentleman here is doing in the picture? And be kind, friends. He is glow sticking. He's glow sticking. It was a dance craze, and I want a glow stick. I do. I want to get out there on the disco round and glow stick all over the dance floor. I think it sounds like a lovely thing. Now, what else glows in the dark? These jeans. These are Ghostbuster jeans, as you can clearly see the little photograph. But when you put them under the ultraviolet light, look what you get. You get a pair of hot pants. I would love to have an entire outfit made out of Ghostbuster denim. I do. I want that. Here's another little glow in the dark. This is a bath buddy. This is a glow in the dark bath buddy. And when you're luxuriating in your Bed Bath and Beyond bath, you can put this little buddy in there and he'll emit light on whatever you want seen. Now, you could also get yourself a glow in the dark wig. And I'm considering investing in one of these. You know, the holiday season is upon us after all. Maybe I'll even wear some glow in the dark makeup. And I'll look like this young lady or perhaps young man. I'm not sure what that is, but it looks like it's young, and it definitely glows in the dark. I love it. I think we should all wear glow in the dark makeup. Now, something else, darling, that I really like to do in the dark might surprise you. It might shock you. But I like to watch movies in the dark at night. When I'm home alone, I like to tune in to a lovely TV show. And oftentimes, my favorite is something called the movie of the week. It went something like this.
The movie of the week. Presenting the world premiere of an original motion picture produced especially for ABC.
Yes, the movie of the week. Yes, ABC did a whole series of movie of the week from 1969 to 1975. Now, at the time, ABC as a network was flailing. They didn't really have it all together. The other two networks called ABC the almost broadcasting system because they didn't have any hit shows. But one of the producers out there at ABC decided, let's make some low-budget movies, and we'll run one off every week. And they called it the movie of the week. And they featured television stars in unlikely roles, and they rolled one out every week, and I know I was there. I watched every single one of them. They were sensational movies. They were about dramatic, they were melodramatic, they were never comedic. No, they were always important films that you felt you must see so that you could stand around the water fountain the next day and talk about what that movie of the week was. And they featured all sorts of TV stars and movie stars, and they were very short movies, maybe 90 minutes. And the good thing about the movie of the week is you can still rent these movies, or however you get movies these days. How do you get your movies? Do you dial them up on your Netflix or your Hula Dancer? I'm not sure what you get, but I'm going to tell you some of my favorite ones, and in no particular order. Well, come to think of it, it's in alphabetical order. The first one is called Alexander, The Other Side of Dawn. Now, this actually was a sequel to Dawn, Portrait of a Teenage Something One or Another, and it starred of Eve Plum. That's not Eve there, but we know Eve from the Brady Bunch, don't we? She was the middle child, Jan. And that's Lee McCloskey, who you might know from another TV movie, Rich Man, Poor Man. It sort of put him on the map. And this was a movie about a country boy who turned into a Hollywood hustler. It made all the headlines back then. It was a lovely movie, not really. Here's another one. It's called Bad Ronald, starring Scott Jacoby and Kim Hunter, who in her later years made a career out of doing these ABC movies of the week. She did. Bad Ronald is an interesting story. I think Dabney Coleman was also in the picture. And this is about a family who moves into a house only to discover there's a hidden room where Bad Ronald lives, and he's a psychopath, and he's killed all his friends who made fun of him, and he lives in this little secluded room, and one of the little girls finds him in there and feeds him. You have to watch Bad Ronald. It's actually quite good. Here's one. This is called Billy, Portrait of a Street Kid, and this is a young LeVar Burton who did the movie with Ossie Davis. A well-acted, if not predictable movie about a young man living in the ghettos of New York City who dreams of better things and becomes a veterinarian. That's right. There's no place to go but up, LeVar. We all know that. There's no place to go but up. Born Innocent. Here we have Linda Blair. Now, Linda Blair was the queen of the made-for-TV movies. Linda Blair in jail. Linda Blair in prison. Linda Blair on drugs. Linda Blair running a house of ill repute. Linda Blair. Everything was Linda Blair in this one. This is 1974. She's up there with Kim Hunter again, because Kim had nothing else to do after Planet of the Apes. This is a graphic story of a teenager struggling to adjust to the tough life of prison. Have you ever seen a movie where they adjust to the tough life of prison, or prisons like Easy Street? No, it certainly wasn't for Linda Blair. Born Innocent, one of her best films there. Here's a lovely movie. That's John Travolta. That's right. He was on loan from Welcome Back, Kotter, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble, about a young boy with an immune deficiency which caused him to have to live his life in a plastic jumpsuit. Trouble ensues when he falls in love with the girl next door. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, they made that into another movie called Bubble Boy with Jake Gyllenhaal back in the 90s, and then a musical of the same title. Why not? What's this one? Oh, yeah, another Girls Behind Bars picture. Here's Susan Day from the Partridge Family. Young, fresh Susan Day in Cage Without a Key. Now, she plays an innocent girl who's accomplice to a robbery unknowingly. She accepts a ride from a stranger and ends up in prison. And look, just don't get in the car with a stranger. Susan Day, you should know better. Didn't your mama Partridge, or didn't Danny Partridge, or one of those Partridges tell you don't get in the car with them? Here's Dawn, Portrait of a Teenage Runaway. A lot of these movies had the word portrait in it. You would think it was an art gallery, not a bad made-for-TV movie. But Eve was here again with Lee McCloskey, and she plays a 15-year-old prostitute running the streets of LA, and she becomes a prostitute when she can't find legitimate work after running away from her cocktail waitress mom. Oh, it sounds like a bowl full of life, doesn't it, Dawn? Portrait of a Teenage Runaway. Look that up on your Netflix, dear. Oh, this darling, you have to see this. You do. Do you recognize those ladies? That's Helen Hayes and Myrna Loy and Mildred Natwick and Sylvia Sidney, the creme de la creme of Hollywood, in a made-for-TV movie called Do Not Fold, Spindle, or Mutilate. And here are some octogenarians who decide that in the early days of computer dating, they would make up a fictitious woman's name and they would put her in the system. And what they didn't know is that their little computer dating trick, the little practical joke, would lead them to a psychopath who was after them all. There were lots of psychopaths in the 70s. It was a big topic. Here is the girl most likely to circle this one, dearie. This is one of my favorite films. It's Stockard Channing as an ugly duckling who gets in an accident, undergoes plastic surgery, and comes out as a beautiful lady. She does. And then what she does is she gets revenge on everyone who made fun of her. She kills them all one by one. It's a delightful movie. It was written by Joan Rivers. Pick that one up the next time you're in your Hollywood video store. I want to keep my baby. Well, so does Marielle Hemingway. Look, she's like 5 years old in this picture. She's not the baby, she's the mother. And it's about a young mother who decides at the ripe old age of 13 that she wants to keep her baby. Good luck with that one. Good luck with that. Here is Katie. Portrait, once again, of a centerfold. Now, here's Kim Basinger there, and she's a beauty queen from Texas who comes out to Hollywood thinking that she's going to beauty school, but they're training her for something else. Yes, of course they are. Oh, look at that. That's Elizabeth Montgomery, Samantha Stevens from Bewitched. And here she's traded in her goody two-shoes witchy attitude to play one of the meanest ladies there, Lizzie Borden, who took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. That's a lovely movie. Good to watch during the Halloween season, I think. No, I've did this next one just because I love the title. Let's Scare Jessica to Death. I don't even know what it's about, but one can imagine. Oh, maybe I'll come home in the spring. Now, I have a soft spot in my heart for Sally Field, as you know. In this one, she plays a hippie. She's run away and comes back after being a hippie for a year. And her mother's Eleanor Parker. And her mother's like, "Did you bring drugs into this house?" You've got to watch it. It's a lovely portrayal by a very young post-flying nun, pre-Norma Ray Sally Field. Here is Sarah T. Portrait of a teenage alcoholic. And guess what? Here we have the lovely, once again, Linda Blair, who finds her way into her mom's liquor cabinet and can't get out. It's like Bad Ronald. Sweet hostage finds Linda Blair. Linda Blair as a sort of a simpleton farm girl who gets in the car of Martin Sheen. He takes her away, he tries to make her his student, his hostage, his wife, his everything. It's a lovely movie. It's a family film. It is. It's the mother of them all, darlings. This is once again Sally Field as Sybil. She plays a woman with 16 personalities. It's based on a best-selling book, and it really put Sybil Shepherd on the made-for-TV map. It did. Now, finally, I have one more to tell you about, and this is probably the creme de la creme. This is a trilogy of terror, and that's Karen Black, who plays in 4 little vignettes, and every one of them she goes screaming about. But it really isn't until the final one, called I think it's called Prey, where there's a little tiki monster thingy that looks like that, who chases her around the house and throws little spears at her, terrorizes her. It's a wonderful film, and I urge you all to watch that. And that, my friends, is my little expose. I want to see what you've said there. Someone said Brady. I always say it. I'm constantly saying Brady Bunch. Jan was the Marsha of the movie of the week. She was. Portrait of a Teenage. Oh, do you think I could pull that off? I think so. Aaron loves Sybil. It's a great movie, isn't it? Paige, let's get Jessica to this. Filmed in Old Saybrook. Isn't that wonderful? We could go by there and scare each other to death. Loved Sally. Sally is amazing to this very day. Even in Legally Blonde 2, she's amazing. Sally Field. Yes. I love it. I just love it. Thank you all for your comments. I'm going to turn the show over to one of our best friends now, who's going to tell us about other things that happen at night. Let's bring him on, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, your best friend and mine, it's Mr. Dazzle.
Hello.
How do you do, Mr. Dazzle?
Very well. You didn't think you could keep me away from an episode, did you?
I wouldn't want to. I like when you come on. I wonder what you're going to talk about tonight.
Well, I am a nocturnal animal myself, which is an animal that is only active at night, essentially. And so I thought, what better thing to do than tell you about some of my other favorite nocturnal animals?
Well, I think our audience would love that. I'm going to excuse myself, and I'm handing the show over to you, Mr. Dazzle. Take it away.
Thank you. People are actually, we have nocturnal animals, which you know, as I just said, animals that are active at night. But the opposite of that is what people are, which is diurnal animals, which means animals that are active during the day. There's a lot of different variations of that. There are things like lions, which are metaternal, which means they're active at all different times of day. Sometimes they hunt at night. Sometimes they sleep at night. They're kind of all over the place. Cats, ferrets, they're metaternal. But tonight we're talking about nocturnal animals. And the first one I'm going to talk about is the aardvark. There he is. Look. The aardvark. So aardvarks are native to Africa, and they're large mammals that actually, they're insectivores. So they eat ants and termites and all sorts of crawling insects. They have, as you can see, his little feet. He has all these little toenails, and each toenail is actually closer to a hoof than a nail. It's like a little hoof or a shovel, and they can scoop with their front and back legs at ant hills and termite mounds and dig them out. And then they have a very, very long tongue that is sticky that they will put into the ants' living quarters and pull them out and eat them up. Sorry, we're gonna move on actually, because I'm gonna speed right through. So our second one I have is the owl. Which, look at that guy with his eyes. There are actually over 200 species of owl, split up into two different families that we know of, the true owls and the barn owls. I think if barn owls knew that we called all the other owls true owls, they'd be upset with us, but they don't speak English, so that's good. An owl, as you may know, actually has the ability to rotate its head 270 degrees, or 3/4 of the way around in either direction. But what you might not know is this is actually because they have twice as many neck bones as humans do. We only have 7 vertebrae. They have 14. So every single one that you have allows you to turn a little bit more. They're very, very good hunters. They are nocturnal, so they hunt for other nocturnal animals like rodents and things. And the cool part about their feathers is that the edges of their flight feathers are ridged. They look almost like a serrated knife, and this helps them to be completely silent while they're flying through the air, so they can stalk their prey. Very, very interesting. Our third friend is the bush baby, which is actually a nickname. This is a galago, or sometimes they're actually called a nagapai, which is the Afrikaans word for a night monkey. Bush babies are very sweet. They live in sub-Saharan Africa, and they're actually related to the loris, which, as you know, is another small nocturnal primate. Their ears, as you can see, are very large, and they can actually hear insects at night. Yes, they're also insectivores, but they can hear insects, and they will hunt them mercilessly, even though they're very cute. They're actually so cute. They have one of their toes does not have a nail on it, and that's because that's the toe that's designated for grooming. So think about that. Our fourth one is this guy, which we already sort of talked about. Technically, fireflies are not nocturnal. Fireflies are what is called crepuscular, which means they are only active during twilight, not the vampire books. But they are active in between the hours of day into night, and they only live for about 2 months of the year, which is why you only see them in the summer. The interesting thing about them is they are bioluminescent, but there are many, many species of them. And every single species of firefly actually has its own blinking signal that it uses. And when you see them blinking, it's actually them signaling for mates. So if you're ever like, oh, I'm going to catch those in a jar, they really were only looking for a good time. So please let them be. It should be noted, though, a lot of people think they're related to flies, and they're not. They're beetles. And if I can just editorialize for a moment, beetles are actually the largest group of animals on the earth. 25% of all living creatures are beetles, which is absurd. There's over 350,000 species of beetle. So that's a lot of beetles. That's a lot of life. And the firefly is one of them. And he's probably the cutest one. Our next friend is actually from your native Australia. It is the kiwi. It's the kiwi. That one. Not the delicious green fruit, but this guy. If you've heard of an ostrich or an emu, or you're really well versed on animals and you've heard about a cassowary, they're all large, flightless land birds. The kiwi is related to them, but it is only about the size of an average chicken. Still, though, it lays very large eggs for its size. One of the largest eggs for its body size, it can be 40% of its body mass. I don't understand how that works. The funny thing about kiwis in this whole nocturnal business is that they've always been known to be nocturnal because they have predators. But now that they've sort of been put into captivity and zoos and are being helped along in reservations and things, they've actually found that without those predators around, the kiwis are a little more metaternal. They come out at all different times of day. So I think they're just shy, which is sort of tragic, but also kind of cute. Moving on. Oh, here we go. So we have the bat. Now, everyone knows bats. We know there are lots of bats. But what we didn't know is that bats actually make up 20% of all mammals on Earth. So every single mammal you can think of, well, 20% of them are bats, which is also crazy. It's like the beetle thing, but with hairy people. The bat is the only mammal that can perform sustained flight. A lot of mammals can sort of glide or float. A bat can fly. It is the only mammal that can fly. The largest one is called the flying fox. And the flying fox is, its wings, oh, here he is. His wingspan is about 5.5 feet or so, which is as tall as a 7th grader. So if you ever see them in full flight, they're large, but they're also quite friendly. Bats have all sorts of different diets that they sustain themselves on. Some are insectivores. They eat bugs at night. Some of them eat fruit. Many of them eat nectar, pollen, seeds, and all these ones actually help to stimulate plant growth because they drop the seeds and the fruit all over the ground and then new plants spring up. But I should mention that at least one of the species does exist solely on blood, and that is the vampire bat. And the vampire bat is very aptly named. One might wonder if it came first or the vampire came first. I'm actually not sure about that one. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff, the bats. I'm going to move on to the pangolin. There he is. Pangolin's one of my favorite animals. A pangolin is actually, it's a mammal, and it's covered with these scales. The scales are made of a substance called keratin, which is a protein that animals produce. It's the same stuff that your hair and your fingernails are made from. So he's kind of covered in a whole bunch of fingernails, essentially. When they're born, they start out very soft. And then as they grow up, they get thicker and harder, and they form a protective shell, and they'll actually curl up into a ball in order to protect themselves from predators. The interesting thing about them that sets them apart from things like anteaters and aardvarks, to which they're related, is that they have a long sticky tongue, but they have no teeth. So they cannot grind up their food. So what they have instead is all of those spines are also inside their stomach. Yep. Inside their stomach, they also have the keratin spines, and just to help a little more, they will swallow tiny rocks before they go to have a meal. And so when they swallow the ants, termites, and other bugs, the rocks and the spines in their stomach help grind them up. And that's how they digest their food. Totally bizarre, but they're really cute and they like to dig. Our next one is actually the sugar glider. Now, the sugar glider is a marsupial, and as I said, it cannot fly because we know the bat is the only mammal that can fly, but they do glide, hence the name. Sugar gliders are very tiny. They can be as small as 8 inches. They can get to about a foot from head to tail, but that's very small. They're a marsupial, which is a whole group of animals that are mammals, but they have pouches that they raise their young in. Kangaroos, wallabies, koalas, there are all sorts of possums even are actually related to the sugar glider. Sugar gliders are often mistaken for flying squirrels, but they are not flying squirrels. Flying squirrels are indigenous to, are indigenous to North America, and sugar glider as a marsupial is not. But the sugar gliders, because they're so tiny, will actually huddle together in the winter for warmth and go into a state known as torpor, where all of their body functions will lessen. And it makes it so that all of the food that they've stored up, they don't use up that energy. So they'll huddle together for warmth and then turn their body onto like a cooling system so they can live a little longer in the winter. They can glide for 150 feet or more, which, to us doesn't seem like a lot, but if they're only a foot long, that's 150 times their body length. Imagine, getting to the store and back on one glide. That's pretty brilliant. My next friend is the great Potu. This is the cartooniest of birds. This guy lives in Central and South America. They're pretty big for their family of birds. They're about 1.5 to 2 feet tall, and they are great at camouflage. They will rest on trees and stumps and posts, and their feathers, as you can see, are mottled and brown and look like wood from far away. So they camouflage very well. They are asleep during the day because they're nocturnal, but their eyelids are so thin that they can still see while they're sleeping. Wow. The interesting part about them that has sort of planted them into the folklore of the area is that they have an outrageously strange cry for a bird, which we'll play now, I believe. So the great Potu basically sounds like a small child going, wah! And it's actually planted them into folklore. A lot of people think that it's the sound of spirits and they will not go into the jungles at night, and they shouldn't. And our last friend that I have today is called the Luna moth. The Luna moth is, it's indigenous to North America, and it is a beautiful green moth. Its span is about 4 inches, which is a little wider than an iPhone these days, which is enormous for a moth as well. They start life as a caterpillar or larvae, as moths do, and they eat the leaves in trees for about a month straight. All they do is just eat, eat, eat for a month. And then they wrap themselves into a beautiful cocoon, and they hatch as this glowing green moth. They are food for things like bats, but these two fans at the bottom of their wings, for lack of a better term, they can actually swirl them independently, and it throws off the depth perception of their predators. The unfortunate thing, I'll say, for the Luna moth is that it only lives about 7 days, a little over a week tops. And so when it goes into the cocoon, it actually loses its mouth and digestive system because it doesn't live long enough to need to eat. So imagine you underwent this beautiful transformation, and then they're like, oh, by the way, no more lunch, and you were kaput. Kind of tragic, but also beautiful in its own way. So that's my list. I'm sure that you've heard of some of those, but I hope that I was at least informative about some things that maybe you didn't know about your favorite species, and introduced you to some new ones as well.
Well, Mr. Dazzle, that was most informative, delightful, and sometimes a little bit icky, and I might have some bad dreams tonight.
Well, I left off most of the insects on the list, so
Thank you, darling. Well, thank you for joining us once again, and we'll see you at a future episode, I hope.
Of course, always a pleasure. Bye, friends.
Bye, darling. Well, friends, I'm going to give you off to a commercial. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's time to listen and laugh at Pantochino Podcast Mini Musicals. The Wizard of Oz, sort of. Super Groovy Aladdin. Beauty and the Beast, sort of. Little Red Riding Boots. The Ethel Mermaid. Pantochino Podcasts, now broadcasting on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Listen now and laugh.
Darlings, I know it's late at night. The moon is full. It's dark here, but I think it's just the right setting for a little bit of match game, don't you? Well, it's just you and me tonight, darling. We're going to play a nice round or two of the match game. I'm going to hold up a little sentence. You're going to have to fill in the blank, and the person who matches me might just get a fabulous prize. I've got some new swag tonight. Look at that. Someone's going to win a Victoria Sautee mask, darling. Look at this. This is just lovely. You can wear it in pride. You'll feel safe. You can go out in public and show everybody you're a super fan of the Victoria Sautee show. I just love it. Emma's excited. Michael's always excited. And Cheryl loves Mr. Dazzle. Isn't that lovely? Well, all right, let's get right at the game, shall we? I think I want to get right at the game. No, I have to take off that little banner there because we don't want that looking at us all through the match game, do we? I can't find your little banner. There it is. There it is. Oh, off you go, Cheryl's comment. Off you go. Emma wants that mask. I know she does. All right, I'm going to hold up the first clue and we'll start the game. Dick was not fond of the nighttime. He admitted he was afraid of blank. Dick was not fond of the nighttime. He admitted he was afraid of blank. I'm going to write my answer and see if you can match me. Dick was not fond of the nighttime. He admitted he was afraid of... All right, I've written my answer down. Let me see. The dark. Dick was not fond of it. He was afraid of the dark. Jerry says he was afraid of Jane. Emma says the dark. Paige says clowns. Ah! Justin says vampires. Vampire bats. Bats. We have lots of bats. Another Jane. The dark. Another Jane. Jane and the dark seem to be the definitive answers here. Linda Blair. I'm afraid of Linda Blair, I am. And not from The Exorcist. I'm afraid of her in Born Innocent. Diana says monsters. Well, let's see. I'm going to show you what my answer is. No, not the dark, not monsters. No. I wrote, Dick was afraid of everything. He was afraid of everything. All right. Well, nobody got that one. But let's try another one, shall we? Oh, I'm game. Every night before she went to bed, Jane liked to... Every night before she went to bed, Jane liked to blank. And I'll bet she liked to blank. Jane liked to... All right, I've written my answer down. Let's see if we've got anyone who's going to match me tonight. She liked to, well, it says we're all right. I hope so. Watch the movie of the week. That's a good answer, Joe. You know that's what I like to do, man. She liked to goggle. Needed to. She liked to annoy Dick. She does that first thing in the morning, Diane, I think. She likes to wear her yellow dress. She likes to color. Lovely. She likes to read a chapter of her book. Yes, that little narcissist, I'll bet she does. She likes to pet her bat. Euphemism alert. She likes to tell stories to Dick. bet she does, Ingrid. I'll bet she does. Well, nobody guessed it. The music's gone out, so we're going to give you my answer. There's the music. Stop. Every night before she went to bed, Jane liked to, I wrote, sneak out the window. She did because Jane's a bad girl. She is a bad girl. I'm surprised it's not a made-for-TV movie about her. Jane, Portrait of a Teenage Puppet. Don't let her hear that I called her a puppet. She'll get me. She will. Oh my goodness, I don't know why I said that. All right, let's get back to the game. I want someone to match me, for goodness sake. All right, here we have an easy one. Chime in, everybody. Midnight blank. Midnight blank. This is easy. Oh, it's the jazzy music now. It's jazzy. Ooh. Midnight. I've got my answer written down. Let's see who's out there matching me. Midnight snack. Delicious. She probably was. Night Cowboy, that's a good one. Night Movie. Night Express, those Brad Dourif fans. Midnight Snack. Midnight at the Oasis. Oh, we'll sing a camel to bed, yes. What is Midnight at the Oasis, Midnight Madness? Midnight Oil, yes, I bet she likes to burn that down, doesn't she? Another Midnight Cowboy in there. We have a couple of cowboys. Didn't even think of Midnight Cowboy. I apologize. I should have thought of that. I always like a good John Voight film. I do. And anytime Dustin Hoffman appears on my screen, it's a treat. Tootsie. All right. I said midnight clear. Midnight clear. You know, it came upon a midnight clear. Midnight, the thing it came upon. I can't believe no one's matching me tonight. Michael, Emma, what's wrong with you? Oh, all right. I have one more, and that's it because it's almost midnight. All right. Here we go. Yeah, after dark, our final match game question is dark blank. Dark blank. Dark. I have a lot of ideas for dark. All right, I've written down my answer. What did you say? Dark walk. Where's answers out, Jimmy? Dark horse. The dark horse candidate. Barbara says dark shadows. Dark soul. Ooh, creepy. Dark shadows. Dark night. Dark chocolate. Delicious. Dark. Dark Vader. Dark horse. Dark and stormy. Darkness. Dark eyes. Dark room. You photographer, you. Dark and handsome. Yes, of course. All right. Dark secret. All right, turn this music off. I'm annoyed. All right. So I was going to say Dark Victory because I love the movie Dark Victory. And then I was going to say Dark Crystal. Nobody said Dark Crystal. But I didn't say either one of those. I'm scrolling back because I think someone said it. I'm seeing who said it first. I wrote Dark Shadows, and the first match was Barbara. Barbara, you're getting a Victoria Sautee face mask, a face covering. No one will know who you are. They'll think you're me. It'll be wonderful, Barbara. I need your address if you'll send that to me. Did you win something before, Barbara? Maybe you won a pin in a previous episode. And I'm so glad that you played. I'm so glad that you're all here. I have a favor because I always have favors, don't I now? Pantochino, who's our little sponsor of our show, is nominated for Best theater in Milford and the Best of Milford Awards. And if you take a nanosecond to head on over to thebestofmilford.com and select Pantochino as Best Theater, we would love to have your support and your vote. Maybe you'll share it with your mums and dads and friends and relatives. I know Dick and Jane will probably vote for Pantochino. Don't tell Jane I called her a puppet. I hope that you do that. And remember, there are always a little penny for my lipstick is always a good thing. I want to remind you that I'm going to come back, darlings. I am. My next show is not till September. But luckily for you, it's September 8th. That's right, September 8th, it's back to school day, and I'm going to see you at 4 o'clock on that day. We're going to talk about school and back to school. It's going to be sort of a fall preview because a new season is upon us, and the fall show, the September 8th show, will be the very first episode in my second season. That's right, it's season 2 for Victoria Sautee. I'm very excited about it. Diana's already voted. Happy birthday, Mr. Dazzle. It is his birthday coming up. It is. It was. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Barbara loves it. I'm so happy. Look at it. Yay. Oh, I love it. Yes. So we do have that coming up in September, a special fall preview. I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. Now, after the show's over, you can still watch this show and all my shows on our YouTube page. Just go to Pantochino's YouTube page. You can see all 32 episodes of the show. And tell your friends to join us the second season. I have some surprises, some new formats, some lovely things. I might have a different hairstyle. I might glow in the dark. But meanwhile, I want you to promise me that you'll keep on washing your hands, and when you're out in public, you can keep your social distance. It's a good thing. It's a real thing. We've got to do it. So we wash our hands. We stay safe. We obey our mum and dad. We're kind to them. We're kind to everybody. Love. Be kind to everybody. That's the one thing I want to leave you with today. It's so lovely, and I'll see you in September. Goodbye, everybody. I'm going to get my little branding out there so that we can have a little outro. I love you all, dearies. I really do. And now I'm going to down this drink.
If you're stuck inside and you need some fun, she's the grande dame of getting it done. With Victoria Sautee.
It's actually a Finnish drink. It's called a long drink, and now I'm going to leave you, and I'm going to finish my Finnish drink.